Namaste, good morning. A session where we end our discussions with the last part of international taxation, which is more to do with the international arena than to do the in with the Indian context as to how treaties are made, double taxation avoidance agreements are made, what is the history of these things, and BEPS. Okay, though we have seen major parts of BEPS in transfer pricing and various other discussions, BEPS as a recommendatory model, how it has become popular. Okay, a complete theoretical understanding. Okay, right. Basically, when we are reading this, we have to understand it from the context of Europe. We have to understand it from the context of Europe. The biggest advantage of Europe is free movement of people, free movement of capital, okay, free movement of goods. So, single currency it was. So, that made lot of things important. Tax is not uniform. Tax is every country levying tax. So, when every country is levying tax, we need to bring in a commonality. Europe thought we should bring about commonality in all these things. So, first European Union, later OECD. What is OECD? Organization for Economic Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. OECD was formed. Originally, it was European Union. Then OECD was formed for this purpose, and they are doing. So, keeping that in our mind, we have to read these conventions, and because OECD is the most important body today on taxation, international taxation. Almost all of us follow whatever the recommendations of OECD. BEPS fullave OECD koduttom. Okay, BEPS is fully OECD driven. Okay, but equal criticisms were made. One of the biggest criticism that arises is you are looking everything from the European angle. The lens that you are using is always European. யூரோப்ல இப்படி நடக்குது அதனால உலகம் ஃபுல்லா நாட் நெசசரி ரைட் so Europe is an union of countries which is not prevalent otherwise. So looking at or giving the perspective from the UN end, I mean, European end will be a problem. So, UN also started developing models. There is one big brother who says, okay, so the model conventions are slightly different for each side. Okay. All these things have to be understood from the international perspective. Okay. So coming back to what is our examination importance. Anywhere between a 2-mark question to a maximum of 5-mark question. I don't feel more than what is in capitalization. Okay. I don't see anything more than that. Majority of these things are implemented in our law itself. So A question on transfer pricing will cover both conventions on BEPS model and the international taxation. Right. First arena to study is model tax convention. Convention na meeting. Okay. The terminology is nothing but meetings. Okay. And there are three popular conventional codes, which is one is OECD model, another is UN model, then the big brother US model. Okay. So we are not studying about US model at all because it is only applicable for United States of America. Who says I will not follow the other two? Okay. Right. So coming back, what is OECD model? This is a model treaty between two developed nations. So, it is only for developed nations this is recommended. Okay. The model advocates the residence principle. That is, tax will be only levied by the resident state and not the source country. Tax will be levied only by resident state. ஏன்னா யூரோப்ல தான் ப்ராப்ளம். People started moving freely, getting themselves located somewhere for purpose of taxation savings, etc. And also, tax will be levied by the resident state. That's why they are saying OECD, why are you not taking is you are looking everything as a European aspect. Whereas the actual picture here is different. The UN model says, UN model draft model treaty between developed and developing countries. UN model says these are treaties between developed and developing countries. Why this gets importance? Developed and developing, because here the more important aspect is capital movement. Developing countries look for investment from developed countries. Look for major investments, major expansion. Take India, for example. Non-residents investing in infrastructure. What is the rate of taxation? 5%. Which is otherwise 20%. Because I'm looking for investment in my country for developing the infrastructure of my country. So this draft model between developed. The UN model is a mix between source principle and residence principle, which is what we are following. Income accruing or arising from India is also taxable in India. If ROR is there, is global income is also taxable in India. Of course, I provide DTAA benefits, relief of taxation. However, it gives more weight to source principle as against residence principle. For a non-resident, any income accruing or arising from India, received in India, is taxable. Source, where from the income is coming, is more important than whether he is a resident or not. UN model is encouraged to flow of investment from the developed countries to the developing countries. Am I clear to you? Okay. Whereas US model, let's not worry about it. They'll follow OECD model, where only the residence principle will be the superior. Okay. Developed countries, OECD. Developing countries, they will follow UN model. Am I clear to you? Right? Next. What is the program? Why? Why model tax conventions? Why model tax treaties? To prevent double taxation. அது வெளியில சொல்றாங்க. Indirectly நான் ஏற்கனவே சொல்லிருக்கேன். To prevent non-taxation also. Double non-taxation. We'll talk about it in BEPS. Okay. To prevent double taxation. To ensure that there is no avoidance of tax or evasion. OECD model is majorly this because by locating, by moving capital, by moving goods, don't try to escape from the taxation net. Okay. Develop economic relationship and encourage cooperation and on tax matters. Develop economic relations and encourage cooperation on tax matters. Information exchange. Free information exchange is attained due to this, and also prevent double taxation, ensure there is non-avoidance. Okay, this is UN model. All the definitions are very much known to us. Okay, residence term, state, term used to state in which state a person is a resident. Source state, where the income arises from. Article wise explanation. My dear friends, institute has given what articles you should study. Okay, institute has already said these are all the articles. It is enough if you have a knowledge about these articles. Okay, though there are 140 150 articles, they are only pick and chosen some 15 and told you to study these things. Article 1, normal meaning, person. What are all the international terminology of person? What can be? Person. Status இல்ல. Person. HUF இருக்க முடியாது. Individual. Companies. Okay. Partnership firms or LLPs. More of international LLP. Other business formations. They call it as AOP, BO in Lakanam. Other business formations, including trust, etc. Okay. So, normally what our law also says is what is said as person. Taxes. Predominantly taxes on income and capital. Income from investment. The two types of income from investment are dividend and interest. Income from capital appreciation, short-term capital gain, long-term capital gain. Income from labor movement, salaries. Predominantly they talk about, because in the OECD model that is more important. Persons can easily move, capital can easily move. So they are talking about income from investment, capital gains and salaries. Not that they have not spoken about house property or other sources, they are speaking about that, but predominantly business or profession is also addressed by, but predominantly this is what is spoken by them. Definitions, they have just said Article 3 is definitions. Article 4, residence. This is where it all starts. Taxpayer needs to prove that he is a resident of a contracting state to ensure he gets tax benefit. Onus of proof is on the taxpayer. How will he prove? TRC, by providing tax residency certificate. Yesterday I was telling you, there is all possibility that I will be a resident of 2 countries. There is all possibility I will be a resident of 2 countries. And I am earning income from India. India has to provide information to the country in which you are tax resident. How will I determine it? Nee kudukano enakku. Though I am a resident in two countries, I am paying tax in Singapore or I am paying tax in Malaysia. That is what the TRC comes into play. Tax residency certificate. This is to avoiding this crucial test is for avoiding double taxation and taxation on the basis of source and residence. The tiebreaker rule is part of this article. What is that? Economic, emotional, place of stay, and are the residual. Okay, this is the article which tells about tiebreaker rule. For all other than individual, for everybody, place of effective management. In India, we are using two terms, control and management for firms, AOP, BOI, and place of effective management for companies. But internationally, only place of effective management is seen. Okay. One thing internationally, LLP is okay. LLC, which is normally taken as a company. Partnership firm law disregarded. Okay, I'll come to that. Article 3. Permanent establishment, a fixed place of business. We all know. Okay, permanent establishment mean branch, license office. இங்க பாத்தீங்கன்னா மைன்லாம் கூட எக்ஸ்பிளைன் பண்ணுவாங்க. Quarry, mine, warehouse, everything is a permanent establishment. The conditions of business connection are presented in this article. What is business connection? Habitually concludes contract, habitually stores goods and delivers them, habitually is acting as an intermediary in completion or execution of things. So that is known as business connection. In India, this is very, very popular. In fact, India gave the definition of business connection to the world. Not only that, FTS, fees for technical services, is a definition taken from Indian law. Internationally, OECD took the definition from the Indian law. Okay. The term PE is wide enough. That's one. Permanent establishment, branch, office, factory, workshop, place of management, mine, oil wells, quarry. In UN model, even insurance enterprise which collect premium in that territory or insure risk of goods or person of that territory is also included. In which model? ஏன் OECD ல தேவையில்லை? Because a German company can insure a Frenchman. A German company can insure the goods that are there in Dutch. Here it doesn't apply. Here, if it is going to happen, it will be extra export of foreign currency. Okay. Recently, after the new state government took over, they called India as a union. இங்கேயும் OECD மாடல் மாதிரி தான் ஒர்க் பண்ணோம். Okay, because the present Tamil Nadu finance minister is coming from a international background. He understood the OECD model is what is the Indian model should have been. Every state, if you take it as a separate entity, country, then OECD model. That is where we are stuck. International, I mean India, we are all stuck. ஆமாப்பா நான் சொல்றேன். Okay, what he was propagating is actually what should happen if you consider every state as an independent aspect. Then free movement of goods, free movement of people, free movement of capital, and every state tax is a state subject or union subject. Itself is a question. So what we have to avoid? Preferential tax treatment வராது. Okay, but then we moved into a republican union, so we are having a single tax even for goods. But in Europe it is conglomeration of countries. Europe. Okay, so insurance enterprises, these things there it is not essential, but in UN model this is essential. Am I clear to you? Article 6, business profit, where it can be taxed. Business profit can be taxed only by the resident state. அப்படின்னா விட்டுறக்கூடாது. Non-resident earns India income from India through business connection. So it is not resident state. Right exists to the source state only if the PE is located in that state. All through we have been studying. PE located, no equalization levy. PE not located, equalization levy. Because once PE is located, I get the right to tax the PE. PE not located, I cannot tax on the basis of residence rule because PE is a residence. PE passes through the residence test. Whereas if PE is not located, there is a problem. Okay, okay. So that is why source state only. Okay, it doesn't restrict. UN law talks about FOA, force of attraction rule. English talk. International tax full English talk. Where is the attraction to earn income? That country can levy taxes. When a foreign enterprise set up PE in a source state, when a foreign company has a PE in India, to such extent, I can tax. What to what extent? Income attributable to that. இது அந்த ரூல் சொல்லுவாங்க பாருங்க. Where a foreign enterprise set up a source state, it is covered under the tax jurisdiction of such state. Profit derived, whether through the PE or not, is taxable at the source state level. Income attributable to such operation is getting taxed at the source state. We are only following the source state model. We are only following the UN model. To what extent source state can tax? Only to the extent that the profit is identifiable with the profit. Same. We have studied this in our law. Just now we studied. It's a conglomeration. That's why many answers I told you, you will get the answer from here. Okay? Whether it is for the PE or even if PE is not there, equalization levy. PE there, directly tax them. PE not there, 165 or 165A, equalization levy. Article 11, about every particular item. What the most important internationally is not your business or profession. It is your other sources. International taxation, majority of the provision is not covering business or profession. They are covering only other sources. Why other sources? ஏன்னா இங்க இஷ்யூவே ராயல்டி, பேட்டன்ட், இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட், டிவிடெண்ட் தான். Why this is an issue? Because you are parking everything in a lower tax countries, what is popularly known as tax haven. You are trying to park everything there. So I am going to talk more about this. Interest from debt claims of every claim, whether or not secured or unsecured, and whether or not carrying a right to participate in the profit. So இந்தியால தான் preference share capital ஒரு மாடல் தான். Worldwide, that is also known as debt. Tax deductible. They call it differently. They call it debtors who participate in the management of the company. Debtors who are not participating in the management of the company. Debtors who participate in the management of company. For us to understand, preference shareholders who has the right to participate in the management of the company. Debtors who are not having the right. So income from government securities, bonds, debentures, including premiums and other securities are covered here. Here, with regard to interest, paragraph 1 gives the right to resident state, 2 gives the right to source state. The source state should ensure to tax at marginal rate. So what is the rate in India for a non-resident? 20%. Interest from government securities, interest from bonds, if it is invested in foreign currency, it is taxable at 20%, whereas a local domestic person earning 30%. Infrastructure 5%. Where in UN, OECD rate soltam. Across Europe, this is the tax rate. Okay, UN code has given it as a recommendation, but OECD model specifies the interest should be taxed at 10%. Okay, OECD model recommends the interest should be taxed at 10%. Not there, but non-resident. Residents in the tax company. Again, non-resident concept. No, is not there in foreign currency, accepted. But non-resident concept, okay. A German who has invested in the bonds of a Dutch company. The Dutch government should tax him only at 10%. Germany tax rate, you are supposed to tax him only at 10%. Of course, there is no investment in foreign currency in the word. Okay, here, since we don't have any, we are using the word foreign currency. Am I clear to you? Okay, so interest is one, because I always told you business profit romba chinna provision na. That is directly identifiable. Okay, next comes royalty. Under OECD model, which we are following, taxable only by resident state, wherever it is there. Under OECD model, taxable only by, now under UN model, which we are following, taxes predominantly by resident state, but source state can also tax the same without exceeding the prescribed percentage. Royalty and fees for technical services 10%. Okay, எல்லாமே non-resident international taxation 10%. Okay, royalty does not include rentals for films and television broadcasting. Now our law has changed, it is included. Exhibition of films is also coming under royalty. Okay, yes. Am I clear to you? Okay, நிஜமாவே ஆர்டிகல் நம்பர் இதுதான். இது என்னோட சென்டிமெண்ட்டுக்காக போடல. ஓகே, நிஜமாவே ஆர்டிகல் நம்பர் இதுதான். It is not because of my sentiment. So everywhere if you see question number after 12, 12A, 14 போகும். அதுக்கும் இதுக்கும் சம்பந்தம் இல்ல. ஆர்டிகல் செக்ஷன் நம்பர்ல நான் என்னைக்குமே அந்த மாதிரிலாம் பண்ணதில்லை. என்னுடைய கண்ட்ரோல்ல இருக்கிற விஷயத்துக்கு தான் நான் பண்ணியிருக்கேன். Okay, so don't mistake me. Fees for technical services. Trust me, the definition is from India. அப்படிலாம் பார்த்தா நேத்தி நாங்க யாருமே உன்னை மன்னிச்சிருக்க கூடாது. ஒரு மெட்டீரியலுக்கு பயணி உன்னே ஏதோ போட்டு நல்ல வேலை ஏதோ I asked the people to collect the material who were not collected. He put okay, sir. The taxation is same as above. The definition of fees for technical services is taken from our domestic law. What is that? Managerial, technical, or consultancy services, but excludes payment to an employee because it is taxable under salary, payment for teaching in an educational institution or for teaching by an educational institution, payment for individual, for services or personal. Teaching is not a falling under fees for technical or professional. 44DA உங்களுக்கு applicable கிடையாது தெரியுமா? 44DA speaks about presumptive taxation of professionals. 50% of gross receipts. Actually, for a professor or teacher visiting, okay, remember, இங்கதான் teachers and professors are employed across the world, especially the Western world, sources them. You come and give a 10-day lecture in our college. This is the total pack. They are not employed. They are available across the world. Okay? Okay. So, are they professionals? Now, that definition doesn't cover. Not only here, major part. அவங்கெல்லாம் salaries. Okay? Right? So, none of the teachers like private coaching center like me or anyone cannot claim 44DA. But trust me, all of us are claiming. ஏன்னா எங்களுக்கு வேற எந்த செக்ஷனும் இல்லை. சரி ஒரு 50% கிளைம் பண்ணி பார்ப்போமே. எப்படிப்பா சேல் டர்ன் ஓவர் இல்லையே, இது கிராஸ் ரிசிப்ட் தானே, இது சேல்ஸ் டர்ன் ஓவர் இல்லையே. ஓகே. Capital gains. The right is predominantly given to the country of residence. So in capital gains, how will you tax? Okay, generally இல்ல ஐயோ நான் அந்த மாதிரி மோட் ஆஃப் கம்ப்யூட்டேஷன் கேட்கல. இல்ல நானே சொல்லிடுறேன். நான் நேத்தி ஒரு 2 நாள் முன்னாடி சொன்னேன். With regard to capital gain, in the case of immovable property, place of such location of that property, movable property, registration. Okay, are you clear? Are you clear, Anthony? Shares and securities. சரி, correct. அப்புறம் is there any other answer you want to add? தேடுற ஆன்சர் அப்படி. ஓகே, சொன்னப்புறம் வருத்தப்படக்கூடாது. ஆனா போய் குதிச்சுட்டானா நீ அவளை காப்பாத்திடணும். ஓகே. If predominant value for a company is derived from investment in another company. H. Vodafone case. Company located in Mauritius. Liability side, share capital, reserves, loans. Asset side, investment in shares in India. If those shares are sold, no doubt source state will tax it. What is sold is not shares of that company. What is sold is not shares of investment. That company's shares are sold. If the predominant value arises from one particular company or one particular country, then so in the right is only for residents, நமக்கு ஒத்து வராது. However, the right is also conferred to the source state if the immovable property is located in that state, and also shares derive with substantial value due to the asset in that state. State and country, they will say state. We have studied this. Okay. Do you know what is substantial value? Substantial value means 20. Substantial value means, Sudha? இல்ல ஒவ்வொரு இதுல ஒரு மாதிரி இல்ல. நான் உங்கள்கிட்ட ரெண்டா பிரிக்க சொன்னேன். Substantial interest holder is different from substantial value. Substantial interest holder 20%, and in the 222E it's only it is 10%. Substantial value everywhere 50%. Associate 50% of the associated enterprises la, if the balance sheet assets 50% or more is funded by one other entity. Substantial. Second, in our local law where we saw section 1023C says educational institution or hospital substantially funded by government. 50% of their revenue is from government, exempt. In this concept, capital gains, we saw substantially deriving its value from assets located in India. Two conditions. The total value of the asset should exceed 10 crores, and in the balance sheet, the total value of assets located in India should be more than 50%. The non-resident taxation la head wise அப்படின்னு நம்ம போட்டிருப்போம் பாருங்களேன். Head wise அப்படின்னு not that I mean, just want to tell you that nothing we are studying new, or rather these are coming from there to the Indian law also. So business or profession is business connection. Okay, capital gains அப்படின்னு பார்க்கும்போது we get this. An asset being shares in a company or entity registered shall be deemed to have been situated in India if the share of interest derives directly or indirectly substantially from assets located in India, exceeds 10 crores and represents 50% of. Am I clear to you? Am I clear to you? Yeah. So capital gains. So they are not talking about salaries. Salaries is always residence based. Salary is taxable. Where salary is taxable? Right. Salary is taxable at the place where services are rendered. எப்பயுமே ரெசிடென்ஸ் பேஸ்ட் தான். ஒரு எக்ஸெப்ஷன் கொடு, தர முடியாது. கண்ணாபிதான் உங்களை திட்டிடுவேன் நான். Embassy people, though they are resident in the foreign state, they will be காது திருக்கு தெப்பே நான் உனக்கு I give you all the authority. Okay. Okay. Okay, so angadan we saw the exemption. Indian citizen working in a foreign embassy or high commissioner office, even though they are non-residents, we worked out questions also. Allowances and perquisites are not taxable. Salary is taxable. Salary, house property, location based. Okay, business or profession. நானே பாத்துக்கிறேன். Business connection based in India, worldwide it is PE based. Capital gains we saw, royalty, fees for technical service, interest, everything. Okay, நம்ம லால எப்படி இருக்கு? Royalty, fees for technical service, interest received from a resident Indian, taxable for a non-resident. Received from government of India, taxable for a non-resident. Received from another non-resident. Yeah, provided it is for the purpose of business or profession in India, it is taxable in India. Okay. Article 14. Business அப்படின்றது தான் they use in the international taxation. நம்ம கான்டெக்ஸ்ட்ல business or profession. Worldwide, independent personal services. That's what they call it as professionals. Independent, which we are not. Okay. Personal, அதான் பண்றோம். Services பண்றதே இல்லை. Okay. Independent personal services. OECD has removed it and merged with business income. So அந்த இடத்துல நாம வந்து OECD மாடல் எடுத்துறோம். Normally we are taking only the UN model. OECD is like us. In our tax law to a larger extent, or many of our law are directly incorporated from UK. Okay, still there are laws which are pre-independent laws. Okay, UN model continue to have it as a separate article, taxed in the resident state. However, the source state, to the extent it can be identified. Am I clear? We are not OECD. Even before these things came into, we always had business or profession together. Tax in the source state to the extent of income that can be identified, provided the professional offers services through a place located in that state, or the professional has resided in that state for 183 days or more. Residence based taxation, which is very popular in UK. Am I clear to you? Ananya's sister, who is there in UK, is giving services from their professional services, taxable in the resident state. Ananya is giving services to her sister. Not possible, but still. Okay. Not tax day. Residence தான் the principle OECD. Okay. Article 21. So business tani, profession tani, but for all of us, business or profession, capital gains, everything. Article other incomes only in the resident state in OECD model, but in the UN model also by source state, provided it can be identified to that state through PE located or professional services performed. Taxation is similar to business profits. Up to article number 14 is, I mean, article number 21, income based. Income based. Then comes the, what do you call as administrative provisions. Article 23A and 23B, elimination of double taxation. Ensure the same income is not taxed twice. Elimination can be exemption method, where income taxed in one state will not be taxed in another state, or tax credit method. Whatever tax paid in one country can be claimed as an exemption or deduction in another country. Methods are அப்படின்னா இப்ப இவ கேட்டா என்கிட்ட இதுக்கு மாத்திரம் நான் அதை ஃபாலோ பண்ணலாமா? எஸ். For royalty, I will follow OECD guidelines. For interest, I will follow UN guidelines. For resident, for business or profession, I will follow my own guidelines. Methods are mutually exclusive. This means income wise the country can determine and follow. எல்லாமே recommendatory தான் worldwide. You should incorporate in our law, in your law அப்படின்னு சொல்ல மாட்டாங்க. Please incorporate, check whether you can incorporate அப்படின்றது தான். எல்லாமே நோட்டீஸ் தான், no show cause notice. Okay, but indirectly பண்ணலனா G20ல கூப்பிட்டு திட்டுவாங்க. ஆபீஸ்ல வந்து பாரு. Okay, that too big brother. Okay, ஆமா, exactly, policeman, custodian அவன் நினைச்சுப்பான். Okay, the article is only for jurisdictional double taxation, not economic double taxation. So what is the difference?
Country to country double tax this is something that is avoiding. Economic double taxation.
No. Okay, ரொம்ப interesting concept. Okay, which is not well discussed, very highly discussed in our material. Worldwide, I am earning income from US and also from India. What is that you should, we are bothered about? A person should not be taxed in both the places. Both the places. So you are only worried about the person. Jurisdictional double taxation. Internationally, என்ன சொல்றானா, why are you worried about the person? Look at the income. Is the income duly taxed? It is not person based. It should be income based. Once an income is taxed, அதுக்கப்புறம் அது எவ்வளவு வாட்டி ரொட்டேட் ஆனாலும் திருப்பி டாக்ஸ் பண்ணக்கூடாது. Economic double taxation. Once an economy has taxed that particular, I earned a salary of 20 lakhs. Am I taxed? Yes. After doing everything, after paying tax, I gave her a gift of 1 lakh. Relative the taxable. Relative இல்லன்னு ஒரு நிமிஷம் வச்சுக்கோயேன். 50,000 வரைக்கும் எக்ஸம்டா. அப்படியே அவனுக்கு சொல்லி கொடுத்தேன், நான் போய் குதிச்சிடுவேன். Okay, if it exceeds 50,000, fully taxable. நான் ஏதோ பேச ஆரம்பிச்சா நீ எங்கேயோ கொண்டு போய் என்ன அப்படி முட்டிக்க வச்சிரு. Okay. um, coming back, internationally, what they are saying is, under 20 lakhs, once it is taxed, why are you bothered about what he is doing with that 20 lakhs? Again, you are taxing her by 1 lakh, saying, I gave her a gift of 1 lakh. I have already paid tax, boss. I have already paid the tax on that. After that, again, Adapa, same income getting twice taxed.
Economic double tax.
So, otherwise, so it is not jurisdiction. So, we are only bothered about jurisdictional income tax. We are not talking about economic double taxation. When an income is taxed, am I free to use that income? Technically, yes, it should have been. But unfortunately, there is always a cascading effect. நான் போய் கார் வாங்கினா அங்கேயும் டாக்ஸ் பண்றேன். இல்ல அதான் சொல்றேன், expenses are different. Business income, economical double taxation is different. Personal income, gift is wrong இல்லையா? I am gifting her from the taxed income. அவன் சொல்றான், had you held it, it is an opportunity loss for the department. Had you held it, you would have earned the interest. She is also will got that interest. Okay, so it is a very difficult concept, but worldwide it's a very big discussion. Economical double taxation you avoid pannu. We are all worried about jurisdictional double taxation. Royalty, practically impossible nu solla maten. Rules has to be framed. Unless we are having a tracking mechanism, it becomes impossible. But it is possible in OECD. It's having European Union. Yes, I agree with you. It has a very difficult tracking mechanism, but some provisions are directly can be avoided. Especially gift is a way of avoiding it. Okay, especially dividend taxation, I'm against it. Company has already paid tax for that money, but you are again taxing the dividend. So economical double taxation takes place. Okay, at least now, okay, till 2 years back, 3 taxes for dividend. Company pays tax, then they on the dividend they pay dividend distribution tax. The individual who receives it, if it is more than 10 lakhs, on that he is paying 30% tax. Economical double taxation. Income. That's not happening. As Sudha was saying, ரொம்ப கஷ்டம். Unless you have a big monitoring mechanism, big transparency, it is very. Yeah, for the world population size. Internationally பார்த்தீங்கன்னா இது ரொம்ப கஷ்டம். Map. Okay, slowly this is getting importance. Mutual agreement procedure. That is international arbitration. Okay, OECD ல again very popular. International arbitration. அவங்க எல்லாத்தையுமே ஜெர்மனில கொண்டு போய் வச்சிட்டாங்க arbitration. All European, wherever you have tax, you have to understand. I will always call it as tax illiteracy. We are all tax illiterate. Okay, but Europeans are to a larger extent tax literates. By tax literates, I am not saying they know the tax laws very well. By tax literates, they mean to say they are saying their tax is an emotion and they want to retain it within their country. They will not capital free movement of people, free movement of goods. Tax alone, They will never say unify it. US is a tax emotion. US the GST la implement பண்ண முடியாது. US the income tax is state subject. It is not the union government alone which levies it. Every state has an income tax law. Okay, so it is not emotion anga tax என்றது. Okay, people who are paying tax are very emotional. அதனால தான் உங்கள்ட்ட நான் வந்து international taxation ஆரம்பிக்கும்போது I told you, when I am using Google, when they are earning revenue from me, why are they not paying tax in my country? But, UN Parliament, Margaret was questioning the CEO of Google. There are three companies which came into scanner: Google, Apple, Starbucks. The giant Google of technological world, mobile world or a giant Apple, and in UK, Starbucks is a bigger enterprise. நம்ம ஊர்ல அந்த காஃபியை குடிக்க கூட முடியாது. ஆமா, Starbucks is a coffee shop. Okay, Starbucks is a very big brand pa. McDonald's US க்கு எப்படியோ Starbucks Europe க்கு அப்படி. Okay, so they all, I told you, place their royalty in Ireland. So across the Dutchmen drink coffee as much as all of us. Yeah, I do. Okay. Okay. என்னோட சேர்ந்தா எவ்வளவு குடிச்சிருக்கா, நீங்க எல்லாம் தான் சாட்சி. Okay, so please understand, in this model the tax becomes an emotion. They say we are the maximum users. In the concept கொஞ்சம் அப்படி extrapolate பண்ணி பாத்தீங்கன்னா, one by every person out of 6 people in the world is an Indian. Even 1 by 10 வச்சுங்களேன், 1 by 20 1 by 20 வச்சுங்களேன். கூகுள் அண்ட் கூகுள் யூஸ் பண்ணாதவங்க இந்தியால யாரும் கிடையாது. கூகுள கேளுன்னு தான் சொல்றோம். Okay, so you have to understand that out of their revenue, 1/5 should be 1/10 at least should be from taxes India. So இங்க அந்த மாதிரி literacy கிடையாது. We are unable to develop that literacy amongst our people that look, so that is what is the emotion of tax. Emotion, I am unable to drive home that tax is a bigger emotional subject, psychological subject than a. ரொம்ப நேரம் நான் ஒருத்தட்ட உட்காந்து டாக்ஸ் பேசினேன்னா அதெல்லாம் இருக்கட்டும், இது எப்படி குறைக்கிறது, டேய் இவ்வளவு நேரம் கஷ்டப்பட்டு நான் இதெல்லாம் எமோஷன் அது இதுன்றேன். Yeah, okay, so sir, அமெரிக்கால இன்ஸ்டிடியூட் CPA is state wise sir. கொலராடோ ஸ்டேட் தான் நம்ம எல்லாருமே போய் எழுதுறோம். லாஸ் இருக்கு சார். ஆமா சார், ஆமாம். இல்லாட்டி கிளம்பலாம்னு நினைச்சிருக்கான். This is the time, okay, this is at the time disputes where the person is of the opinion it is not taxable at both placed or taxable either at one or, okay, arbitration. OECD model specified that person to approach international court of any country. Whereas UN model says you only approach your local authority. UN approach the competent authority of the resident country. Okay, OECD says because Europe is, that's why you don't see it through your lens. You approach international court, which is located in Germany, Geneva Convention. Okay, but UN says no, go to your resident taxpayer. UN order also specifies common arbitration binding on all parties. Time limit 2 years for OECD, 3 years for UN model. Approach can be by the taxpayer or the department. Major இதுக்கு தான் வரும். At the end of the day, exchange of information. That is what is for treaties of all. The inherent purpose of the treaty is exchange of information to monitor tax evasion or tax avoidance, movement of capital. However, Swiss Bank is not ready to give the data of their deposit holders. Confidential information shall not be exchanged. இதை விட டாக்ஸ் இல்லிட்ரசி இருக்க முடியுமா? எல்லாரும் நம்ம ஒரு 90% ஆஃப் த பாப்புலேஷன் நம்புது ஸ்விஸ் பேங்க்ல கேட்டா கொடுத்துருவோம், நாம தான் யூஸ் பண்ண மாட்டேன்றோம். மோடி வந்துட்டாருன்னா ஸ்விஸ் பேங்க்ல வாங்கிடுவார். இல்லப்பா ராஜா, இட் இஸ் நாட் பாசிபிள். It is not possible. Confidentiality agreement based தான் அது. Not for you and me, worldwide. Katirur Cooperative Bank. That is with regard, that is not a confidential information. I am not signing with the AO a confidential information that you should not disclose to anyone. Swiss Bank is based on confidential information. Okay, and anga vandu I told you 131 powers of civil court, anga da 131 133 civil, the income tax officer get the powers of the court. Idu vandu inda paisa tappu andha mari cases la, but we know what money is parked in Swiss Bank, that they will never disclose. Sir, Swiss Bank odunga sir. Information exchange, tax evasion, tax avoidance, one person who is avoiding tax. Free cricket match பார்த்துட்டு இருக்கார் சார் அவரு. A person who has evaded all the tax in India, all the banks in India are waiting for him. It is not that we don't know where he is, தெரியுமா? இதுதான் confidentiality. I will not allow. Okay, so this literacy is not prevailed. இந்த லிட்ரஸியை தான் நம்ம வளர்க்கணும்னு கஷ்டப்பட்டு முடியாதுன்னு முடிவு பண்ணிட்டேன். The second part is in the international tax treaties. Before that, ஒருவேளை உங்களுக்கு வந்து I am more familiar with okay, I'm just going to our institute material. Okay, ஒருவேளை உங்களுக்கு வந்து சில சமயம் people will try to understand better by diagrams அதுக்குதுன்னா institute materialக்கு first institute material 26 pagesல first 5 pages story. Okay, ஓகே, மகாத்மா காந்தி என்ன பண்ணாருன்னா, எதுக்குடா அதை இங்க கொண்டு வந்தீங்க சார்? பேஜ் first up down 10 pages the material which we have condensed it, next 10 pages repetition. Okay, but இந்த கடைசியா கொஞ்சம் ஒரு சார்ட் மாதிரி கொடுப்பாங்க. ஓகே, ஒருவேளை உங்களுக்கு சார்ட் மாதிரி படிக்கிறது ஈஸியா இருக்கும், பிசினஸ் ப்ராஃபிட், இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட், ராயல்டி, இதெல்லாம் உங்களுக்கு சார்ட் மாதிரி படிக்கணும் அப்படின்னா you can refer to the institute material. What I have covered everything. Okay, but if you feel that your condensed format you can read it as a chart, that will be, somebody will have a catch memory, then they can refer to the institute material. international tax treaties, that is DTAs. How they are drafted, why they are drafted, what are all the okay tax treaties. German international court has displayed this in front in their main. Justice provides the following: international conventions will be respected. Customs, international customs will be, every nation's custom will be respected. Law of the land is superior. Okay. Generally, whatever is the accepted principle, we will go abide by it. And judicial decisions and teachings of various nations, we will be upholding. The international court will not disregard, it will respect the international conventions, that is the meetings that has taken place across the world. It will respect the law of every land, okay, their culture, their treatment. It will go by generally accepted principles and judicial decisions. I told you 1900s onwards itself it is there. Okay, Vietnam Convention is the first biggest deal breaker. Okay, match agadu. Varang, good point. Varang, okay, right. Remember this, in another 15 minutes I'll answer you. Okay, right. What is a treaty? What is this agreement? International agreement between states in written form and governed by a common law, whether embodied in a single instrument or in two or more instruments. MOUs. Okay. Why should there be a treaty? Tax is a compromise. Is that correct? Yeah. Uh, Tax is a compromise. Why I should pay tax? Somewhere the country is able to help me in earning my income. So as a cost, I am paying to it. It is a cost to the coast store state. In the resident state, it is an obligation. I am a resident of India. Global income is taxable. சார் நான் அந்த ஊர்ல சம்பாதிச்ச இன்கம் நீங்க எப்படி சார் டாக்ஸ்? Jurisdictional taxation and not economic taxation. I might have earned income outside India. All the effort I to have been put outside India. But if I am a ROR, it is on the basis of obligation. ஆனா நான் ஜெர்மனில ஒரு இன்கம் earn பண்றேன், அமெரிக்கால ஒரு இன்கம் earn பண்றேன், அங்க டாக்ஸ் கட்டணுமா? Should I pay tax there? I have invested in German bonds. That German company pays me interest. So am I supposed to? Yes. Is it my obligation? It is my cost. It is a cost for me there. And I don't have any emotions. I only have one thing, earning. But whereas when it comes to my tax, the country I am in, it becomes an emotion, so it becomes an obligation. All treaties play within this cost and obligation aspect so that they eliminate double taxation. But what is not said is They also ensure there is no double non-taxation. Actually, there are three types of DTAS. Only two is said in our institute material. Comprehensive DTAA, complete in all forms. Limited DTAA, limited to income from international air transport, like that, only for this particular purpose. Third is only information exchange. No income can be doubly taxed, etc. But free exchange of information can also be a DTA. There are three DTAs. Now coming to Indian context. Depends. Information இல்லாம கூட இருக்கும். Indian constitutional reference. What I told you, there is international constitution, இது court. இங்க promote international peace and security, maintain just and honorable relationship among states, so that you enter into foster respect for international law and treaty obligation. This is important. Once you have entered into a treaty, you are bound by it. Okay, and encourage settlement of disputes by arbitration. Don't go to court, etc. Okay, just and equitable. Necessities for a tax treaty. Ensuring non-discrimination between resident and non-resident. அந்த மாதிரி ஒன்று நடக்கிறதே இல்லை. Tax rate non-residentக்கு different. Lower tax rate to attract investment. Because these are only recommendatory. Resolve disputes on account of different in interpretation, providing assistance in collecting fair and legitimate taxes, eliminating double taxation. Principles to be considered: equity and fairness. Adam Smith ஓடது நம்ம எக்கனாமிக்ஸ்ல படிச்சிருக்கோம். Okay, நீ படிச்சது இல்ல, நாங்கெல்லாம் காமர்ஸ் ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ். Okay, equity and fairness. Same income earned by different taxpayers must be taxed at the same rates regardless of its source. Correct. Okay, same income earned by different taxpayers must be taxed at same rates regardless of its source. Royalty and fees and technical services is taxable at 10%. Royalty and for fees and technical services from US 10%, from Germany 15%, for a resident in US 10%, for a resident in Germany 15%, for a resident in UAE 25%. அப்படி இருக்க முடியுமா? Same income earned by different taxpayers must be taxed at same rate. Neutrality. Economic processes should not be affected by external process such as taxation. Economy or tax ana economy is superior, not tax. Why? Should tax lead to economy or should economy lead to tax? Yeah, economy should only lead to tax. Adam Smith அதான் சொல்லியிருக்கார். Progressive taxation up to 250 nil, 250 to 5 lakh 5%, 5 lakh to 10 lakh 20%. Lower the income, pay lower tax. Higher the income, pay higher tax, because his economy is higher. Standard of living is higher. Palkiwala சொல்லுவார், we have wrongly understood Adam Smith. He is trying, his principle is passing money by the means of taxing, passing money from the rich to poor. But what we are doing is passing money from a honest rich to dishonest rich. Okay, So, but a very good principle. As a principle, if you read, economy is superior, not tax. Economics should only lead to tax. நான் இந்தியால இன்வெஸ்ட் பண்ணமா இல்லையான்றது என்னுடைய டாக்ஸ பேஸ் பண்ணி இருக்க கூடாது. இந்தியன் எக்கானமியை பேஸ் பண்ணி இருக்கணும். Google and other companies does not have an option but to have an Indian presence because என்னோட population. When we are studying 11th standard economics, if you remember, okay, at least அப்ப வந்து India's greatest problem population படிச்சோம். Malthusian theory எல்லாம் படிச்சோம். Okay, food supply versus population, arithmetical progression, population, food by arithmetical population, food availability by arithmetical progression, whereas population goes by geometrical population. The graph எல்லாம் போட்டு இது ரெண்டும் மேட்ச் ஆகாது. But actually when we grow, we understood population is our greatest strength. Because of population only today we are attracting. Our economy is very stronger because of the population. Because of the huge population, we have a cheap labor. Because of the cheap labor, we find ourselves as a good destination. இது கண்ட்ரிக்கு நடுவுல மாத்திரம் இல்ல, எங்க திரும்பினாலும் சென்னையில பீகாரிஸ் இருக்காங்க, தமிழ்நாட்டிலே இருக்காங்க. நிச்சயமா சார், நீங்க எவ்வளவு எனக்கு கோபமா வருது சார். இப்ப ரீசெண்டா ஒரு 2 நாள் முன்னாடி me and my friend went to a restaurant. that friend, that person, क्या चाहिए आपको? வெந்நீர் கொடுங்க. क्या? உன்னை என் ஃப்ரெண்டு கரம் பானி, இருறா, கரம் பானி எனக்கு சொல்ல தராதுன்னு இல்ல, நான் அங்க போனா ஹிந்தி கத்துக்கலன்னா திட்டுறாங்க. They are not even ready to speak Tamil. But every restaurant, every salon, everywhere, every building operation, you find more of North Indians. So, economy has led people here. Within our state, I can give you, within our country, I can give you example. Worldwide, economics should be the driving force. Yes, Sudha? So tax should not வந்தாரை வாழ வைக்கும் தமிழ்நாடு. நாங்க எங்க வாழறதுன்றான். Capital export neutrality, very difficult to achieve. Wherever the capital is invested, it should fetch the same return and tax. Provides business decision must not be affected by tax factors between the country of residence and target of country. Whereas capital neutrality provides that level of tax imposed on non-resident as well as resident should be similar. Not possible. அது வந்து OECD ல possible because they are single country, single union, single currency. Whereas for us, countries, developing countries which look for investment, this principle of tax being neutral for residents and non-residents is not possible. But as I told you, these are only recommendatory in nature. Hence, question ரொம்ப simple, straightforward question. What are all the principles? What are all the international guidelines? Okay, question வந்து it is not what are all the necessaries of tax treaties? BEPS தான் question இருக்க போறது, but generally I am telling you. Now, interpretation. Interpretation. Do you know interpretation? You would have studied in your law. In our tax law, in the first class, I told you a bit about literal construction, harmonious construction, ejusdem generis, reasonable construction, beneficial construction, like that. Okay? அப்படி பார்க்காத, நிஜமாவே சொன்னேன்டா கதை ஃபர்ஸ்ட் கிளாஸ்ல. இல்ல இவன. Yeah. Okay? So this, but I told you at that time itself, I will not infringe on Charanya ma'am's area. Okay? This is for you to study in law. அதேதான் international tax code. It is international tax treaty. Okay, we are all the more clear. US நடத்தினாங்க அதனால international tax. Tax treaties only assign the right to tax. It does not tax it by itself. Tax can only be by the local government, by the country's government. I have to say that as a source state, you have the right to tax. As a resident state, you have the right to tax. As a source state, tax it at 20%. I'm not signing the treaty. Assessee can take whichever is beneficial. The domestic law is empowered to tax. Having agreed to give the right to tax to the other state, that state may or may not levy tax, and if the state is in whose favor the right is tax is devolved chooses not to tax that income, then it may result also in double non-taxation. If you are located at an IFSC, no CTT, no STT, transfer it is not regarded as transfer, taxable only at 9%. அது என்னுடைய wish, because I want to attract foreign investment. So given that right, they can do that. They can say an income is exempt. The argument in favor of double down taxation is that income would be subjected to tax in the exempt state as and when the exemption is withdrawn or taxes levied. Only people are saying this is, you all saw, sorry, up to 31,324, up to 31,323. After that, they are going to tax it. So don't worry, it will later be taxed. Thus, this rule ensures double taxation does not arise in future also if that source state starts to levy tax. Golden rule, objective interpretation. Any term should be keeping in view its objective of or ordinary or literal meaning in our mind. Hayden's law. என்ன சொல்லுது? Hayden's rule. உங்களுக்கு ஞாபகம் இருக்கா? Hayden's rule. You have not studied in law. Mischief rule. Exactly. One law, if it is amended, people say, what was it before? What mistake they want to correct? What it is now? Rule of mischief, Hayden's law. What was it before? What went wrong? How it is corrected? The term to be interpreted contextually, word and phrases are in the first instance to be construed according to their plain and natural meaning, literal construction. Subjective interpretation. The terms on the treaty are to be interpreted according to the common intention of the contracting party at the time the treaty was concluded. External aids, speech of the finance minister. Okay. The authority of the relied on the speeches delivered by the finance minister of India as well as UAE to arrive at the intention. Purposive interpretation. What is the purpose? The treaty is to be interpreted so as to facilitate the attainment of main objects and the same manner. Okay. Principle of effectiveness. Treaty should be interpreted in a manner to have effect rather than to make it void. Treaty should be given an interpretation on the whole will render the treaty most effective and useful. All are direct questions only, what it is. Treaty terms are normally to be interpreted on the basis of their meaning at the time the treaty was concluded. Okay, not when it is signed, what was the meaning. And literal constructions has the same meaning. External aid, this is very important. Parallel tax treaties can be used. Okay, India versus Singapore, there was a tax treaty. India versus Mauritius, there was a tax treaty. India versus Singapore interpret பண்ணும்போது they always take இதே மாதிரி treaties எங்கெல்லாம் enter பண்ணிருக்கீங்க, in what way you have defined that parallel tax treaties. If the language used in two treaties are the same, one is more elaborative, the one that is elaborative can be relied upon. However, Indian courts have also interpreted the other way. International articles and essays or magazine வருது, where those can also be relied upon. It's like a dictionary. Protocol. The international term of protocol means annexures, rules, circulars, notifications. Protocol is a supplement to the treaty. In order to put certain matters beyond doubt, there is a protocol annexed at the end of the treaty. Annexure. Okay. Protocol in the India-France Treaty contains most favored nation clause. ஒரு ரெசிடென்ட், ஒரு பர்சன் இந்தியாலையும் பிரான்ஸ்லயும் இருக்காருன்னு வச்சுங்களேன். He is a resident of both the countries. Law should be in such a manner that he don't choose which is the most favored nation for him. Dream இருக்கலாம், but law should be designed in such a manner that they should not have most favored nation. France is favorable to me. Okay. Thus, one must refer to protocol before arriving at the final conclusion in respect of treaty. Under MFN, a clause, a country agrees to extend the benefit to the residents of another country, which it had promised to the resident of the third country. I will not have a differential treatment between two people. Preamble and MAP, mutual agreement procedure, that is international courts. MAP helps to interpret ambiguous terms provisions through bilateral negotiation. MAP is more authentic than the other aids. Okay. இதுல தான் அந்த language யாரோ கேட்டீங்க. Commentaries. Where there are two commentaries available, OECD and the other by US, based on the respective model. Views expressed in the commentary carry greater authority. Okay. Foreign court decisions எடுத்துக்கலாமா? Yes, shall be considered. Judgment rendered by courts in other countries or ruling given by other authorities is also relevant. You can consider it. Static versus ambulatory. எல்லாம் direct question இருக்கும். What it is? Static, the law prevailing at the time of signing the agreement. Dynamic, the law continuously varies. Majority of the agreements are ambulatory, dynamic in only nature. Okay. This is where I am coming to, which is a popular question. Language issue. You know that majority of the treaties entered into with UAE are also in Arabic. They say, I don't know English. என் லாங்குவேஜ்ல எனக்கு ஒரு treaty. We will sign it in English. They'll sign it in Arabic. Europeans are not very comfortable with English except Britain. If you go outside, they speak their language. Russians speak their language. நாம தான் easily adaptable. Only we speak English. Huh? Not only we speak English, அது okay, அது across the world இருக்கு foreign language learning. We don't speak English to outsiders, foreigners. Any communication between southern part of the country and northern part of the country can only happen in English. Any communication. Huh? ஆமா அதான் வீட்டுக்குள்ளேயே இங்கிலீஷ் தான் இருக்கு. கம்யூனிகேஷன் பிட்வீன் சைல்ட் அண்ட் மதர் இட் செல்ஃப் இன் இங்கிலீஷ் தான். ஓகே, பேச மாட்டேன்றாங்க சார் நிறைய குழந்தைங்க. தமிழ்ல கேட்டா இங்கிலீஷ்ல தான் பதில் வருது. அது வரைக்கும் language is not an Indian problem, it is an universal problem. So ரெண்டு லாங்குவேஜ்ல ட்ரீட்டி இருக்கு. By reading it gives two different meanings. Somebody was asking, no, where a treaty has been authenticated in two or more language, the text is equally authoritative in each language unless treaty provides or the party agrees that in case of divergence a particular text shall prevail. Where a particular text prevails in accordance with paragraph 1, when a comparison of authentic text discloses a difference in meaning, which the application of article 31 and 32 does not remove, the meaning which best reconciles to the text having regard to the object and purpose will be adopted. That is, yeah. Contravention, breach. A material breach of bilateral treaty by one of the parties entitles the other to invoke the breach and terminate the contract. Material breach. Okay. Supervening impossibility of performance. A party may invoke impossibility of performing the provision of a treaty on a ground or terminating or withdrawing from it. How is this possible? இல்ல வேண்டாம், அவ்வளவுலாம் லோவா யோசிச்சிடாதே. I entered into a treaty with a country. That country is invaded by another country. It is no invaded by another country. It is no more a country, it's a territory. Okay. It is no more a country, it became a territory. So, if the impossibility results from the permanent disappearance or distraction of an object of indispensable of the execution of contract, but sometimes it can also be temporary. Okay, in that case they will keep it under suspension. In that case they will keep it under suspension. We saw in APA itself something. You remember APA? Advance. When will APA become invalid? அது ஓகே. அது தவிர when will APA become invalid? When will transfer pricing? When the law changes. Internationally, if a new law comes into emerges, any existing treaty which is in conflict with the norm becomes void and stands terminated. Okay, please have a read through. Let's take a small break. I'll be back. Last part of our discussion is base erosion from profit shifting. Again, all the three put together 2 to 5 marks. And majority of the time BEPS is the question, because BEPS is an international aspect scenario which gets importance. So BEPS and the Indian context of implementing BEPS, this can only be majority of the time question. This time we saw what is thin capitalization, like that. What is BEPS stands for? Base erosion by profit shifting. Okay, that is, our tax base gets eroded because you are trying to shift the profits to a tax-less country. Okay, right, or less taxed country. What Here only OECD. UN-லாம் கிடையாதுங்க. All guidelines are recommendatory in nature. என்ன படிக்கும். These are my guidelines. They initially formed it for Europe. Today 72 countries have signed. We'll also take these guidelines, but with its own variation. BEPS refers to tax planning strategies that exploit gaps and mismatch in tax rule to make profit disappear for tax purposes. Okay, it makes the profit to go out of one territory or to shift profit to location where there is less or no real activity. Letterpad companies, there is no activity there. ஆனா அங்க ஒரு இன்வாய்ஸ் வருது. Okay, the greatest threat of BEPS is intangibles. Patent, trademark, அதுக்கெல்லாம் என்ன ஆக்டிவிட்டி வேணும்? Once formed, once a patent is created, அதுக்கப்புறம் அதுல ஒன்னும் ஆக்டிவிட்டியே வேண்டாம். இட்ஸ் a patent. இதுக்கு மேல அவங்க கோக்குக்கு என்ன பண்ணும்? இன்வாய்ஸ் தான் ரைஸ் பண்ணும். Whoever uses that brand. Okay, but resulting in little or no overall corporate tax being paid. These practices lead to lower tax revenue, leading to significant underfunding of public investment. Tax is an emotion. If my base gets eroded, my country is unable to invest in my infrastructure. You earned profit from my country, shifted the profit to some other country. Had the tax been paid in my country, they would have made investments in the infrastructure. Corporate shifting of profit. It is the other residents, especially individual, who suffer the tax burden. I somehow disagree with this scenario that the rate of tax for an individual is higher than that of a corporate. $25% and 15% option there, 22% option there, but நமக்கு 30% higher rate. Surcharge for them 7 and maximum 12, நமக்கு 37%. You know, the tax rate for an individual can go up to 42.744%. Half of his revenue 5 crores மேல இருந்தா தான், but that is different. World, I want to remove lot of myths that 5 crores மேல அவனுக்கு ரெவென்யூ இருக்கு, அவன் டாக்ஸ் கட்டட்டும். That itself is a wrong attitude. To earn that revenue, he has put in lot of effort. That is, it is not somebody who can easily earn 5 crores, leave alone the colonial legacies of Ambani. Some அவங்களுக்கும் இருக்கு, they have their legacies. Okay, so individual rates higher than corporate rates. Somehow I am unable to agree to that principle itself. Corporate, in spite of claiming all the expenditures, in spite of claiming everything, their tax rate is only 18, 20, 22, 25. Individuals, it's like that. Individuals are paying at a higher rate. அதை விட கொடுமை, suppose let us not even take 42%. Let's take a person who is paying 30%, 10 lakhs மேல. He is earning some 3 lakhs per month, 36 lakhs. He is paying 30% as tax. அதை கட்டிட்டு அவன் போய் ஒரு கார் வாங்கினான்னு வச்சுங்களேன், their GST is around 28%, 18%. which he cannot claim it as an input also. So on the cars, on the purchase price of the car, he is paying a tax more than 50%. Sir. He is paying a tax more than, இதுதான் economic double taxation. GST கட்டுறோமா நாம எல்லாரும் companies தான் they claim it, business entities they claim it as input credit, destination final consumers நம்ம இன்கம் டாக்ஸ் கட்டி வர இன்கம்ல நான் போய் ஏதாவது வாங்கினா அதுக்கு நான் ஜிஎஸ்டியும் கட்டினேனா which means both are going to union government now, which means the government is I have paid 50% to the government. Okay, so corporate shifting, if it is the other residents, especially individuals who suffer that tax burden, had the corporates paid, individuals tax rate would have been lesser. Since corporates are not paying taxes, where are you sucking the money from? Individuals. Forced honesty, Sudha Sulwa. Salaried class does not have an option. They are forced to be honest. Not they voluntarily want to be honest, but they don't have an option because employer is their assessing officer. Employer is their auditor. Employer is their assessing officer. Rent receipt. எனக்கு தெரியும் நீ உங்க பேரண்ட்ஸோட தான் இருக்கேன்னு. The greatest loss is for domestic enterprises. Biggest loss. If you are an MNC, you try to locate capital at one place, royalty at one place, technical services at one place, but you are not. So your overall tax is lesser if you are just an Indian entity. Flipkart, Amazon, the way they are earning their income, and the Indian portal. Flipkart தனியா அந்த மட்டும் வேற, Walmart acquire பண்ணவன வேற. Pure Indian portals, their taxes are higher. ஒரு comparative scale ல பாத்தீங்கன்னா Amazon is only paying 20%, 15%, 10%. But an Indian entity which is selling Kanchipuram sarees is paying 30%, 40%. Logic இது இந்த எமோஷனை டாக்கிள் பண்றது ரொம்ப ஒரு பெரிய சேலஞ்ச் கண்ட்ரிக்கு. ரிலையன்ஸ் stores, the mega stores which are getting foreign investments. Okay, Lulu, which is there in Kerala, across Kerala. Okay, they are all paying 20%. நீ போய் சரவணா ஸ்டோர்ஸ் 30% கட்டுனா அவனுக்கு கோவம். It affects my emotion. That's why I said tax illiteracy தான் இங்க problem. Not only for the assessee, for the government itself. Okay, you are dealing with an emotion. The greatest loss is for domestic industry who does not have international matter, which will include family-owned businesses. They will find it difficult to compete. எங்க சொல்லிருக்காங்க? BEPS is recognizing this problem in a larger manner. So OEC published its first report in 2013, then finalized the model in 2015. Everything is known as action plan. Everything is recommendatory. Action plan, direct questionable area. Okay. Action plan 1, addressing digital economy. Have we addressed it in our Indian law? Yes. By significant economic presence, income attributable to India, and equalization levy. Now, I told you, as soon as the recommendation, OECD they are reading action plan 1, 2015 they are reading action plan 1, countries can levy equalization levy, and அப்படின்னு அவங்க படிச்சிருந்தாங்க. நாம இங்க அனௌன்ஸ் பண்ணிட்டோம் equalization levy. India is the first country to levy. அவன் ஆடிவிட்டான். Because we said we are the highest losers, boss. 2015 நீங்க எடுத்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா everybody started PE in India. 2015 recommendation, 2015 end equalization levy, 2015 end onwards, Amazon India, Google India, Microsoft India, everybody started an PE in India because equalization levy is being levied. We are the highest sufferer. We are the first country across the world to implement. OECD is a European tax, I mean body. அவங்களே இன்னும் லெவி பண்ண ஆரம்பிக்கல. அங்க படிச்சோன்னு லெவி பண்ணிட்டோம். ரெக்கமெண்டேஷன் இது மேண்டேட்டரி வச்சுக்கோ சார். எதுக்கு ரெக்கமெண்டேஷன்? Okay. In digital economy, the greatest challenge is where the income is accruing and how to measure the accrual. The whole transaction takes place in cyber safe space, so it becomes difficult. How we are now doing it? IP. Based upon number of users, based upon the turnover, we are now doing it. Initially, the location of server was considered as the key aspect, but MNE started placing servers in tax-friendly location, which made the bulk of the income not taxable. Enterprise. That's what நம்ம தான் multinational companies கூப்பிடுறோம். Worldwide MNE தான் அது. Establishing the link between taxpayer, transaction, destination were all throwing the challenge. This made the concept of PE to be revisited. OECD recommendation. Modify the existing definition of PE. பண்ணிட்டோம். Creation of PE when server is maintained outside the location. பண்ணிட்டோம். 2 crores, 5 lakhs, giga. Okay. Imposition of withholding tax, equalization levy பண்ணிட்டோம். Okay, all the recommendations we have made through changing in our PE, changing in various things. Am I clear to you? Okay. Hybrid mismatch. ரொம்ப சின்ன கான்செப்ட்ல ஆரம்பிக்கிறேன். வேர்ல்ட் வைட் இது ஒரு பெரிய கான்செப்ட். One person's expenditure should be. There is a possibility in international taxation. Expenses is claimed in a country, but income is not offered in the other country. Hybrid mismatch. அதேதான் நான் சொல்ல வந்தேன். இது பிஆர்எஸ். Unless information exchange is very high, it becomes very difficult to track. Hybrid mismatch. 5% of head office expenditure can be allocated to branch. All possibility of hybrid mismatch. All possibility is there if 40 branches are there. எல்லா 5% தான் எங்க போய் நிக்கும்? Okay. Hybrid mismatch means an arrangement that exploits a difference in tax treatment of an entity or an instrument under two laws or two or more countries achieving double non-taxation. Creation of two deductions for a single borrower. Generation of deduction without corresponding income inclusion. Misuse of foreign tax credit. Participation only in exempt regime. அதுக்கு அப்புறம் preferential treatment வரேன். Partnership entities worldwide are not even recognized. Partnership ஒன்னு மதிக்கவே மாட்டாங்க. Worldwide they use symbols. Oval is a symbol of taxation. Individuals, companies, அவங்க எல்லாம் oval. Triangle or pass-through entities. Partnership firm comes under triangle. I will not tax the entity, I will only tax the partners. They both are same. Muthoot Financials. நம்ம பார்த்திருக்கோம். But this is not in all countries. In our country, firm is a separate taxable entity. So, locate the partnership firm in a country where it is not separately taxed. From India, pay to that partnership firm. From there, withdraw it as drawings. Is drawings taxable? No. And the partnership firm is also not taxable. Creation of two deductions. Okay. ஒரு கேஸ் நடந்தது. Company is in Germany. Parent company in US. The US company started a investing company in Ireland. And through that Ireland company, they invested in the German company. Worldwide, there are two things. Consolidated financial statements. Companies and subsidiaries. Holding company should report along with their subsidiaries. If holding company has invested in a firm, in law, worldwide, they call it in two terms: transparent entity, non-transparent entity. Transparent entity, consolidation varum. I know that there is an entity. Non-transparent entity, consolidation varadu. I started a firm in Ireland. Will it come under consolidation? The firm got a loan and provided to the German entity. The US company which gave the guarantee for that loan, in their books also they wrote that the loan was obtained and given to German entity. German entity was also paying interest. US entity was also paying interest. Booking interest. Because in the nadula entity is not at all visible to anyone. So US entity got the loan from bank and gave it to Germany. German entity has applied, so they have to give loan interest. So German country allowed that interest. Ama loan வாங்கிருக்காங்க. US also allowed that interest. The US ல அந்த ஆடிட் பேர் என்ன ரொம்ப ஃபேமஸ் ஆன என்ரான் கேஸ்க்கு அப்புறம் வந்தது இல்ல அதான் அது என்ன ஆடிட் அந்த எஸ்ல ஆரம்பிப்பீங்க தட் ஃப்ராட் ஆடிட்க்கு பேர் ஒன்று சொல்லுவாங்க யூஎஸ்ல ஒரு ஃபேமஸ் ஆடிட் சாக்ஸ் ஆடிட்டா is that the one? Yeah, SOX நினைக்கிறேன் SOX audit அப்படின்னுவாங்க which is for forensic. அங்க கண்டுபிடிச்சாங்க இத. They are claiming double deduction for the single borrower. Two entities are claiming. Okay, generation of deduction, misuse of foreign tax credit, but all these things are possible. OECD said இது எங்க கையில என்ன இருக்கு? Make your reporting stronger. How did we make our reporting stronger now? CBC. Country wise report what is your revenue. Adla interest or major component. Okay. Make treaty changes that will ensure resident state to tax their entity unrestricted of the DTAA. Treatment of branch mismatch. Circumstances will prevail where two deductions are claimed for the same expenditure or the expenditure not results in Indian. At present, our Indian law has no specific provision for hybrid mismatch. OECD தான் இது ரொம்ப பாப்புலர். இந்தியன் லால we are yet to have this. இந்தியாவில் தான் the concept of holding subsidiary. Foreign law CFC, controlled foreign companies. In few tax havens, a shareholder of a corporation is not taxed on the corporation's income until the income is distributed as dividend. So, countries started saying, retain the money here in our country, I will not tax you. But if you pay it as dividend, I will tax you. So, will they pay dividend? No. How to tackle it? The receiving country should tax dividend at a lesser rate. So came 115 BBD. So came 115 BBD, where I said, from a specified foreign company, if you receive dividend, I'm only taxing it at 15%. I'm only taxing it at 15%. Domestic company, 30% or 25% as the case may be. In few tax haven, a shareholder of a corporation is not taxed on the corporation's income until the income is distributed as dividend. Therefore, it is a common for MNEs to form foreign subsidiaries in tax haven and shift portable income to those subsidiaries. Generally, income shifted were mainly investment income and rent and royalties, as well as sales and services. Tax in parent country on this income was avoided until the tax haven country distributed it as dividend to the shareholding company. The dividend could be avoided indefinitely. OECD recommendation. Best practice documents were released by for building blocks of effective CFC. Implementation under Indian law, we made 115 BBD. அடுத்தது உங்க எல்லாருக்கும் தெரிஞ்சது action plan for interest deduction and other financial payment. MNEs are able to shift profits or reduce taxable income by charging higher interest. This is done by locating debt in high tax countries. Okay, so India, Germany, America all got loan from a financial institution which is managed by the same group in UAE. Using intra-group loan to achieve interest deduction in excess of third party, using related or third party to finance the production or exempt. OECD recommendation, we implemented 94B. Now, what is the maximum interest? What is the maximum interest? 30% of EBITDA. அதுதான் இந்தியால allowed. ஆனா OECD இன்னொரு recommendation கொடுத்தாங்க, which we are yet to limitation of interest of that entity, limitation of the total group itself. Not only to that entity, overall group இன்னும் achieve பண்ணல. Group achieve பண்றது only possible in Europe, but it is not possible in other countries. So we started adopting this by implementing 94B. What is this popularly known as? Tin capitalization. What is tin capitalization? In the total capital structure, equity is less thin. The thicker part is debt. Because that becomes their normal operations. Look at where the investment bank is located. If the investment bank is located at a tax haven, that is what they do. What you are saying is that's what is happening. That is why these methods are. Counter harmful practices. There are two parts which are identified and recommended. Part 1, preferential tax regime. Somebody was asking me. Okay. Sir, every state will start. OECD has said no preferential tax regime. Start here, I will give you concession. Start here, I will give you exemption. India is not following this. Because in Indian law, there are a lot of exemptions. OECD says exemption economy should only lead a person, not tax. In the country ஆரம்பிச்சா எனக்கு economically beneficial. In the country ஆரம்பிச்சா எனக்கு tax benefit. That means tax evasion. That means profit getting shifted. But India is doing it. Yeah, that's why they are attracting investment. This will reduce base erosion. Part 2 is commitment to transparency through compulsory spontaneous exchange of information, which is happening, which is started happening. In India, 115 BBF is to counter so that I tax royalty at 10% at a very lesser rate. Most important, prevent treaty abuse. The other way we call it is treaty shopping. For royalty, I will place it in Ireland. For technical service, I will place it in an island near America. For financials, I will place it in UAE. So they start subsidy. அவன் சொன்ன மாதிரி பேங்க் ஒன்னு யூஏஇல இருக்கு, அங்க ஒரு ராயல்டி கம்பெனி இருக்கு. எங்க ஒரு இடத்துல சொல்லியிருந்தாங்க, எக்ஸ்பென்சஸ் எங்க இன்கர் பண்றீங்க அமெரிக்கால, அப்புறம் எப்படி ராயல்டி உங்களுக்கு வந்து இது பேட்டன்ட் வந்து கோமன் ஐலாண்ட்ல ரெஜிஸ்டர் ஆகுது. Developing patent was done in America. Expenses at a place, but the asset is located elsewhere. Okay, so preventing treaty abuse. Don't try to take benefit of treaty. Countries are recommended to have minimum level of protection against treaty shopping. A treaty is having fundamental criteria of eliminating double taxation, but should not result in taxation due to shopping. Okay, countries will implement limitation of in benefits and principal purpose test. The PPT rule alone, the limitation of benefits rule, supplemented by a mechanism that will deal with the financing, limitation of benefits. நாம மொரீஷியஸோட என்டர் பண்ணிட்டோம் after Vodafone case. What is that we said? Where your country has any company which derives its substantial benefit from assets located in India, the capital gains that arises from the sale of that company is taxable in India. However, I will ensure that the maximum tax rate is 15%. That is why all LTCGs are taxable at 10% for non-residents. Look at this. India and Mauritius has signed a protocol. Protocol na MOU. That is a supplementary. Amending the existing treaty. That's why protocol. Okay. It is a supplementary or annexure. In the said treaty, for the first time it has been provided that gain from the alienation of shares in a company which is a resident of India may be taxed in India. The tax rate of such capital gain, however, not to exceed 50% of the tax rate applicable for gain in India. So, number Indian rate evo 20% tax rate, LTCG. So, 50% of that is 10%. That's why we are majority of the non-resident provision, 10% is the LTCG. Further, a shell na letterpad companies. Okay. Claiming to be a resident of Mauritius shall not be entitled to this benefit. A resident of a contracting state is deemed to be a shell or conduct company if the expenditure on operation is less than 15 lakhs. Letterpad companies, அந்த இடத்துல 15 lakhs தான் அவங்களுடைய total expenditure. அது கூட இல்லைன்னா that means that company chumma they are situated there. Worldwide law is. Read through. You're clear? This is a questionable area. Are you clear? That's it. Okay. Right. Okay. So there should not be treaty shopping. Okay. If there is treaty shopping, countries will enter into agreement to avoid that treaty shopping. Okay. Generally, treaty shopping is what is happening across the world. Prevention of artificial avoidance of PE. This is what all this action plan one la padicha mari everything. The recommendation include change in the definition of PE that will take care, which we have done it. These changes will ensure that where activities that an intermediary exercises in the country are intended to result in a regular conclusion of contracts, we have implemented this even before Europe thought of OECD. We call it as business connection. Habitually concluding contract. Look at the word they are using. Regular conclusion of contracts. இதெல்லாம் நம்ம எப்பயும் நம்மளால கொண்டு habitually concluding contract, habitually storing goods, habitually acting as an intermediary. Okay, so they are taking it from us and not the otherwise. Okay, and an anti-fragmentation rule to be adopted to aggregate all activities carried on by an enterprise along with activities undertaken by its related parties. Okay, that is why CBC and all has come into beginning. 8 to 10 transfer pricing, which we have studied, okay, in the various aspects. In this, I want to tell you, internationally transfer pricing is focused on one method: profit split method. India it is not popular. Majority of the TP is towards uh, intangible creation. Okay, major work of OECD was focused on transfer pricing. Across the world, they are able to achieve uniform transfer pricing policy. However, much work needed. Intangibles are hard to value, and action plans are focusing more on them. How will you say, for a bottle of Coke, I will pay 1 rupee royalty? நீ dispute பண்ண முடியுமா? இல்ல இது 50 paise தானே. Intangibles are tough to value. Coke will say, my reputation is so. Pay me the royalty. Okay, if it is paid to US, fine. It is paid to a random country. Action Plan 8 addresses transfer pricing related to controlled enterprise involving intangibles. Intangibles vandale profit split method. Since intangibles are by definition mobile, you can place the intangibles anywhere. You created the patent in one country, placing it in another country, and they are generally difficult to value. Misallocation of profit generated by valuable intangibles is the main cause of BEPS. எந்த மெத்தடும் அதை கண்ட்ரோலே பண்ண முடியல because you are unable to value it. Action Plan 9, again for transfer pricing, contractual allocations of risk are respected only when they are supported by actual decision making. Action Plan 9 addresses the level of returns of to funding provided by capital-rich MNE group members, where those returns do not correspond to the level of activity performed. Action Plan 10 focuses on the scope of addressing profit allocation resulting from controlled transactions which are not commercially rational, the scope for targeting the use of transfer pricing methodology in a way which will result in diverting profit from the most economically important M&E groups, and the usage of certain fees. All these management fees, consultancy fees, technical fees are all invoices. Okay, which erodes base erosion. இது எல்லாமே ஃபார் பேசிஸ்ல தான் போக சொல்றாங்க. ஃபிக்ஸ் அது ஃபங்க்ஷன்ஸ், அசெட்ஸ், ரிஸ்க் எல்லாமே ப்ராஃபிட் ஷேரிங் மெத்தட் தான், ப்ராஃபிட் ஸ்பிளிட் மெத்தட் தான். அந்த மிச்சப்படி எல்லாத்தையும் நம்ம இம்ப்ளிமெண்ட் பண்ணிட்டோம் நம்ம லால. ட்ரான்ஸ்ஃபர் பிரைசிங், our law is quick enough to implement all the procedures. 1 minute, I have to take this call. This is the best of BEPS. How will you know your base is getting eroded? This should have been rule 1, action plan 1, but this is the best of BEPS. How will you know that your base is getting eroded? There are 6 parameters of BEPS activity which highlight that the base is getting eroded. 1. The profit rates of the multinational enterprises are higher in lower taxed nation, lower in higher taxed nation. Profits or the tax paid is lower in high taxed nations and higher in low taxed nations. Okay, the profit of US, Germany, India, France 3%, 4%. UAE, Ireland, Mauritius 20%. How come profits are more there? There is one possibility, they are trying to shift profits. The profits in high taxed nations are low. Activity inga da. But in low taxed nation they are high. So you can understand that BEPS. How do you know this? CBC. What are all things reported in CBC? Revenue, capital, assets, tax. So revenue versus tax compare panni paatha, you will know. The effective tax rate paid by M&E entities are lower than domestic entities. That means you are shifting. ஏன்னா domesticala shift பண்ண முடியாது. M&Es are able to shift. FDI is increasing in a particular, from a particular country. Super point. ஒரு பர்டிகுலர் கண்ட்ரில எனக்கு நிறைய ஃபாரின் டைரக்ட் இன்வெஸ்ட்மெண்ட் வந்ததுன்னா, be cautious, they are trying to shift their profits in BEPS. Don't be happy that you are getting foreign direct investment from across the world. Foreign direct investment coming, okay, India is a preferred destination. One particular country la enakku foreign direct investment nariya varudhu. Be careful. You are not, they are investing only for shifting profits. They will invest, on the other side they will erode your base. From India. Once more. Countries like companies than நீ சொல்ற. Companies from different countries are investing in Yeah, that is, so you will, the first point itself covers the tax rate. இன்வெஸ்டிங்கிறது வந்து ஒரு எக்ஸ்பென்சஸ் கிடையாது, ஆப்பர்ச்சுனிட்டி லாஸ் தான். ஆனா இங்க we are speaking about direct expenditure. The separation of taxable profit from the location of value creation activity. This is what I said. Expenditure for patents is incurred in US. Value getting created, expenditure for the software is incurred in US. But since they are mobile, they are registered elsewhere. அதனால தான் 115 BBFI வந்தது. 75% of the expenditure if you are incurring India, ஐயா இங்கேயே register பண்ணிடு. I'll give you 10% tax rate. Okay. Expenditure is incurred at a place. Separation of taxable profit from the place where value is created with respect to intangibles, which is growing rapidly across the world. Royalties received by entities located in low tax accounts for 3% of the total royalty. Remember, your web says your bases are getting eroded. Just 3%. That itself, web says, was your base is getting eroded. Debt from both related and third parties is more concentrated in M&E affiliates in high statutory tax rate countries. 6 indicators of your profit getting shifted. 3 times this has been questioned. Direct questions in the chapter lane. BEPS Action Plan 12, disclosure of aggressive tax planning, recognizes the advantages of tools designed to facilitate information flow on tax risk, okay, purely administrative. The recommendation provides the necessary flexibility to balance a country's need for better and more timely information, okay, exchange of information between countries, possible in Europe, getting lesser possible here. It also sets out the specific best recommendations targeting international schemes as well as development and implementation. Last, which we have already implemented, re-examine transfer pricing document. நாம எல்லாத்தையும் பண்ணிட்டோம். 92D, master file, local file, okay, country by country reporting, a constituent entity, 3-tier structure. நாம தான் first பண்ணிருக்கோம். Constituent entity, alternative reporting entity, country by country reporting. Okay. Huh? Alternative reporting entity, country by country reporting. Okay. Master file, local file, country by country reporting, revenue, profit, taxes, everything we have achieved by our 92D. And the last 2 are just in preparation stage, not yet even implemented. From whatever we have discussed today, 2 marks to 5 marks, direct question, it is better to listen when you are instead of reading. The recording எடுத்து ஒரு வாட்டி கேட்டிங்கன்னா வீட்ல யாரோ சுவாமிஜிக்கு இது போல இருக்கு லெக்சர் கேட்டுட்டு இருக்கா அப்படின்னு நினைப்பாங்க. பரவாயில்ல. Okay. When you listen to this lecture once before examination, closer to examination, we will do it. Otherwise also, I will try to cover it quickly during our revision sessions also. Okay. So that comes to the end of what I know as taxes. Okay. Right. So how are we now progressing from here? Okay. Only the daily classrooms gets over here. but our interaction will continue. I told you all the test process, I am going to hold it only in the upcoming days, starting from January 1st. Okay, I am going to make you read the chapters in a very small manner. ஒரு half an hour படிக்கணும், அப்படியே டெஸ்ட் எழுதணும், இல்ல ஓப்பன் புக்கா கூட அந்த டெஸ்ட் இருக்கும். Okay, so that you recollect that provision once. Majority of the test will be open book. I believe in that methodology. I told you recently also that how an auditor standard deduction. Okay, so I believe in that technology. By that you will be getting more comfortable. Okay, one, the test process, especially for May students, make it mandatory to write all the test. For November, if you are unable to write it now, please those papers, that link will be always available to you to write the test process. This is number one. That is one. And second thing is, some of the students of the last batch are asking for an amendment class. So I'm going to take an amendment class. ஆனா உங்களுக்கு எல்லா அமெண்ட்மெண்ட்டையும் நான் கிளாஸ்லயே கவர் பண்ணிட்டேன். நான் தான் சும்மா இருக்கேனே, அமெண்ட்மெண்ட் கிளாஸ்க்குலாம் வரக்கூடாது பருவா. Okay, ஒன்ன சொல்லடா ராஜா. Generally I made that statement. Okay, but but I'm planning to have an amendment class. That videos also I will provide you. Okay, because of one reason, more questions from amendment. So amendments க்கு மாத்திரம் நீங்க தனியா ஒரு வாட்டி பார்த்துட்டீங்கன்னா பெட்டரா இருக்கும். That is second. Third, revision class, mostly first week of Feb. We'll have the revision class on a quick basis. We will understand. Revision class attend பண்ண முடியலனா, the videos will be available whenever you want. You can have a look at those videos. Okay, so that will be the support from my end, and always available. You can just text me on anything. While preparing, you will have 150 doubts. Okay, you can keep texting me. Okay, and we'll let us interact and see. Okay, actually, from what I planned, it is a 20-day delay to complete it. I planned it December 5th. Health, rains, and some tours, which is all unexpected, but fortunately you are able to hold it back. But ரொம்ப நாள் கழிச்சு லைவா கிளாஸ் ரூம்ல டீச் பண்ணதே எனக்கு கிடைச்ச ஒரு பெரிய வரம் மாதிரி நான் நினைச்சுக்க ஆரம்பிச்சிட்டேன். ஏன்னா இது வந்து எனக்கு ரொம்ப ரெஃப்ரெஷிங்கா இருந்தது, திருப்பி இவ்வளோ டாக்ஸ் பேசினது. Okay, so much of tax I had, and again I studied the whole of institute material, whole of amendments, framed my own questions. So all these things I was missing for a long period of time. Okay, so just have one thing in your mind: questionable area is very less. We might have studied so much, but you all have to understand, நாம வந்து prepare பண்ணும்போது ஸ்மார்ட் ஆகணும். We have idea about everything. Some areas are questionable areas. அதுல நிறைய preparation இருக்கணும். I will always say, நான் PGBP, capital gains, IFOS அப்படி போயிருக்கலாம். ஆனா நீங்க assessment of firmல இருந்து ஆரம்பிக்கணும் preparation. Because when you are doing assessment of firm, you are referring back to PGBP. We are referring back to IFOS. At least capital gains is the only standalone chapter. And if you do assessment of firm, assessment of companies, you would have obviously completed PGBP also. நீங்க படிக்கும்போது தனியா ஒரு வாட்டி PGBP, தனியா ஒரு வாட்டி assessment of firm, assessment of companies படிக்கக்கூடாது. Your preparations should start from assessment of firm, assessment of companies, assessment of charitable trust, questionable area, TDS, TCS, questionable area. அட்வான்ஸ் டாக்ஸ் எல்லாம் வந்து ரொம்ப ரேர், அது வந்து ஒரு வாட்டி பார்த்துட்டு போகணும். அட்மினிஸ்ட்ரேட்டிவ் ப்ரொவிஷன், அமெண்ட்மெண்ட் ஏரியா எல்லாமே கொஸ்டினபிள் ஏரியாஸ். அது அமெண்ட்மெண்ட், அதான் கேபிட்டல் கெயின் ஸ்டாண்ட் அலோனா படிச்சுதான் ஆகணும். நம்ம டிபி ஷுவர் கொஸ்டின், நான் ரெசிடென்ட் ஷுவர் கொஸ்டின், டிடிஏ ஷுவர் கொஸ்டின், அட்வான்ஸ் ரூலிங் பிகாஸ் ஆஃப் அமெண்ட்மெண்ட் ஷுவர் கொஸ்டின், ஆல் அதர்ஸ். So, and the smart preparation will only help you. everybody should understand that you are not asked to memorize everything and reproduce section numbers, citations, everything. As far as possible, you will remember 40A3, 40A2, அந்த மாதிரி செக்ஷன்ஸ்லாம் ரொம்ப இன்டீரியர்லாம் உங்களை யாரும் ஞாபகம்லாம் வச்சுக்க சொல்ல. You write the provision, leave it. Never even think that this is difficult or this is challenging. Only thing you have to keep in your mind is you need to prepare it with more conviction and concentrate on important areas of preparation. That you will know while preparing itself. That I can tell you also how to prepare. When you start your preparation, 10 days tax conveying, I'll tell you how to go about this 10 days. Which chapter to focus upon, how to focus upon. அதுக்கு மேல இதுல prepare பண்றதுக்கு ஒண்ணும் இல்ல. Have the confidence that you can definitely make it. But I will also support you with lot of small tests to make you focus on those areas, to make you remember on those areas. Okay, so that we will complete the chapter or we'll complete the entire study in a smaller time. Okay, so day to day daily class only ends here. Otherwise, it will continue. ஆனா இது வந்து ஐ மச் அகேன்ஸ்ட் மெனி அதர் பீப்புள்ஸ் ஒப்பீனியனா இருக்கலாம். அது என்னோட ஒப்பீனியன். நான் ரொம்ப பிராங்கா சொல்லுவேன், இந்த சிஏ தான் என் வாழ்க்கை, லார்ஜர் தென் லைஃப் இம்பார்ட்டன்ஸ்லாம் அதுக்கு கொடுத்துறாதீங்க. இது ஒரு கோர்ஸ். இட் கிவ்ஸ் யூ டூ திங்ஸ். எக்கனாமிக்கல் வேல்யூ, நம்ம லைஃபே எக்கனாமி வைஸ் சேஞ்ச் ஆகும். இட் வில் மேக் அஸ் ஏர்ன் வெல். சோஷியல் வேல்யூ, வெளியில இருக்கவங்களுக்குலாம் சிஏ, நான் சிஏஸ்க்குலாம் சிஏ பார்த்தா சிஏ நீ நமக்கு தான் தெரியும், வெளில சொல்லாத சிஏ. ஓகே ஓகே, that's only the நாட்டாமேட்டு பங்காளி கான்செப்ட் தான். ஓகே, so at the outside world, so social recognition and economic value is amazing as a course. அவ்வளவுதான் இதுக்கு நீங்க இம்பார்ட்டன்ஸ் கொடுக்கணும். ஆனா லார்ஜர் தென் லைஃப் அப்படி பிரஷர் எடுத்துன்னு டென்ஷன் எடுத்துன்னு வீட்டுக்குள்ள கதவை தாப்பா போட்டுன்னு முட்டிண்டு அவ்வளவுலாம் ஒண்ணும் இல்லை. யூ ஆர் ஒன்லி வேஸ்டிங் யுவர் லைஃப். இதை நான் எவ்வளவு வாட்டு வேணா எல்லாத்தையும் நான் சொல்லுவேன். அப்படிலாம் இல்லப்பா, நான் ஒரு 25 years பிராக்டிஸ்ல இருந்திருக்கேன், எனக்கு தெரியும் இந்த கோர்ஸ் பத்தி. So don't give பயங்கர லார்ஜர், பிகாஸ் என்னோட இதே சிஏ தான் எனக்கு வாழ்க்கையே அப்படின்னு இருக்காதீங்க. சிஏ இஸ் a part of your life. CA is not your life. CA is just part of you. You will enjoy it. If you consider it as part of your life, you will feel depressed, pressured, tension. நிஜமா சொல்றேன், நான் உங்ககிட்ட சொல்லியிருந்தேன், நீங்க வந்து 8 மாசம் லீவ் கொடுத்தாலும் உங்களுக்கு கடைசி 3 மாசம் தான் படிப்பீங்க. அவ்வளவுதான் தேவையும். 90 days 100 days ரன் அப்படின்னு தான் நான் சிஏ சொல்லுவேன். You run for that 100 days, you will make it. நான் 8 மாசம் 9 மாசம் உட்காந்து படிச்சேன் அப்படின்றவங்க, நான் 18 hours உட்காந்து படிச்சேன் இருக்கலாம். ஒரு எக்ஸப்ஷனல் கேஸ்ல யாராவது 2-3 பேர் இருக்கலாம், பட் சாதாரணமா படிச்சா பாஸ் பண்ண முடியும். Okay, so please don't take it larger than life. At the end of the day, we all know institute material பின்னாடி இருக்க எல்லா கொஸ்டினும் நான் கவர் பண்ணிட்டேன். I have shown you also how institute is answering. State the obvious. All these things I will keep repeating in the revision class also on all these things. Okay, this apart, I will provide you lot of small materials whenever especially solution bank I want to provide you very soon. I was telling you that by God's grace, as a new year gift, I will give you the solution bank. Okay, I hope I fulfill that also, so that you have everything. அதுக்கப்புறம் நீங்க எதுவும் படிக்க வேணாம். எப்பெல்லாம் டைம் கிடைக்குதோ எடுத்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா, one thing which I want to as a person who share, நான் வந்து டெஃபினட்டா நான் சிஏ சொல்றதுக்குலாம் ஃபிட்டே கிடையாது. ஏன்னா இங்க எல்லாரும் ரேங்க் ஹோல்டர்ஸ் அதுக்குது இவங்க எல்லாம் படிக்கிட்டுன்னு வாங்க, நான் அதெல்லாம் சொல்றது கிடையாது. பட் whenever you open a tax material, my voice should be there in your mind. It should come around you. அப்படின்றது தான் என்னுடைய whole intention. I like this subject. I love this subject. It's my passion. So I am passing it on. Otherwise, spend time for your passion, for your art. பாடுறத விட்டுறாதேன்னு இவள்கிட்ட டெய்லி கெஞ்சுறேன் நான். அதுதான் உனக்கு வரோம், சிஏ வரோம் இல்ல அப்படின்னு அவள்கிட்ட. She is a wonderful singer. I don't know how many of you know. She is a very very good singer. Okay, ஸோ அந்த மாதிரி உங்களுடைய ஆர்ட்டுக்கு டைம் ஸ்பெண்ட் பண்ணாலே ஹார்ட் வில் பி வெரி யங். ஐ ஹவ் ஸ்பெண்ட் டைம். ஐ நோ டூ பீப்புள் வெரி பர்சனலி. ஒன் இஸ் கே பாலச்சந்தர் சார். அவரோட 85 இயர்ஸ் வரைக்கும் நான் டிராவல் பண்ணவன்ற அவரோட ஹார்ட் எங்க இருந்ததுனாலே அவரோட ஹார்ட் எங்காவே இருந்தது எப்பயுமே. ஓகே. My recent associations with Kamal sir also tells me that பயங்கர ஆர்ட் தவிர வேற எதுவும் யோசிக்க மாட்டாங்க. I'm not saying both, you should balance everything, but ensure that don't give larger than life importance to. We'll continue to meet in classrooms. All the best. Thank you.